In Bangkok, taxi drivers follow a rule they never write down. If a woman asks for a ride home near the canal during a storm, you do not pick her up. Drivers who ignore this rule say the same thing happens. The temperature drops. The mirrors stop making sense. And when the ride ends, the back seat is empty. Tonight, I'm telling 3 true stories connected to that warning and the spirit behind it. The woman in these stories always looks the same. Long black hair, a bundle held close to her chest, and a sadness so heavy it fills the air around her. Taxi drivers have a name for her, but they rarely say it out loud. Mae Nak Phra Khanong. Over 100 years ago, she died in childbirth while her husband was away at war. But when he finally came home, she was still there, cooking, waiting, smiling. He didn't realize she was dead until he saw her stretch her arm, impossibly long, to pick something up from the ground. Since then, people say Mae Nak never truly left the canal where she lived. And if you cross the wrong line, she doesn't scare you. She follows you. Not everyone who crosses that line believes the stories. Some people think the warnings are exaggerations, folklore designed to scare tourists into behaving. Art was one of those people. He was a backpacker from the UK, traveling through Bangkok with a camera, a sense of humor, and a complete disbelief in ghosts. To him, shrines were decorations, canals were just polluted water, and the legend of Mae Nak was something locals told each other to pass the time. That changed the day he visited her shrine. The heat in Bangkok is different. It presses down on you. It feels alive. Art decided to visit Wat Mahabut, the temple that houses Mae Nak's shrine. It was crowded with locals, offering dresses, toys, and sweet drinks to the statue of a woman holding a baby. People prayed for exemption from the military draft, for winning lottery numbers, for protection. Art found the whole thing amusing. He didn't laugh out loud, but he took photos in areas where signs clearly said no photography. He wanted the gritty shots, the real Bangkok. Afterward, he walked down to the pier by the Phra Khanong Canal to release a fish, a common way to make merit. Instead of praying, he joked to his friend about how the canal water looked like soup, and how the ghost probably just died of dysentery. As soon as the words left his mouth, the air changed. It wasn't wind. It was silence. The sounds of the busy temple behind him seemed to vanish, like someone had sealed him off from the world. Art looked down at the water. The canal was murky and brown, choked with vegetation. But for a second, the reflection in the water wasn't his. It was a woman. She was pale. Her hair was wet and matted against her skull, and she was holding a bundle in her arms. Art blinked, and the reflection was gone, replaced by his own sweating face. He brushed it off as heat stroke. That night, he stayed at a hostel near the river. Around 3 in the morning, Art woke up freezing. The air conditioner had been broken all day, rattling loudly. But now it was silent. He couldn't move. Sleep paralysis. His body was locked in place, but his eyes still worked. He looked toward the corner of the room where the ceiling met the wall. There was a dark stain there, like water damage. As he watched, the stain began to spread. It dripped. A thick, dark drop hit the floor with a wet slap. Then another. From the center of that darkness, a hand emerged. It was pale, with long, yellowed fingernails. It didn't tear through the ceiling. It passed through it, like the surface was liquid. The arm kept coming, stretching, elongating, lowering itself past the top bunk. It hovered inches above Art's face. He smelled it then. River mud and rotting limes. The hand uncurled. A single wet strand of black hair fell onto his cheek. Art shut his eyes and screamed inside his head, begging his body to move. When he finally jolted awake, sitting upright and gasping, The room was empty. The air conditioner rattled again, like nothing had happened. But when he went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, he froze. On his left cheek, exactly where the hair had touched him, was a red welt shaped like a finger. Art checked out that morning. He never went back to the canal. But even back in London, he says that sometimes, when he takes a bath, he smells rotting limes. If Mae Nak notices disrespect, she notices pregnancy even more. Locals believe she watches women the way a mother watches a child, closely, possessively, and without blinking. Dao didn't laugh at the stories. She didn't take photos. She didn't go near the canal. She just moved into the wrong house at the wrong time. Dao rented a townhouse in the Phra Khanong district. The rent was unusually cheap, and the landlord called it lucky, though he wouldn't meet her eyes when he said it. Dao was 3 months pregnant. Her husband worked night shifts, so she spent most evenings alone. At first, the only problem was the plumbing. Pipes groaned, water sometimes ran brown before clearing. But then came the sounds from next door. The neighboring townhouse was supposed to be empty. Windows boarded, gate rusted shut. Yet every evening, Dao heard the rhythmic pounding of a mortar and pestle. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of someone making chili paste, domestic, familiar, and impossible. One night, the heat was unbearable. Dao lay on the sofa, fanning herself, when she heard singing through the shared wall. A lullaby. Old-fashioned, the kind grandmothers sing. Dao felt compelled to listen. She pressed her ear to the wall. The singing stopped. Then a voice whispered directly into her ear. Is it a boy or a girl? Dao stumbled back, heart racing. Her phone had no signal. Then the pounding started again, louder this time. But it wasn't coming from next door. It was coming from her kitchen. Dao walked slowly to the doorway. The kitchen was empty. But on the counter, the heavy stone pestle was rolling in a slow circle, as if someone had just spun it. And the smell. Not chili paste, incense, formaldehyde. Dao looked down. Wet footprints, small and barefoot, led from the locked back door toward the living room. She grabbed her bag and waited outside at a 7-Eleven until her husband came home. They moved out 2 days later. While loading the truck, a neighbor crossed the street and looked at Dao's belly. It's good you're leaving, she said. She gets jealous of new mothers. She thinks every baby is hers. By the time these stories reach taxi drivers, the rules are no longer folklore. They're survival knowledge. Drivers learn which roads empty too fast at night, which hours stretch too long, and which passengers you don't refuse, because refusing them makes things worse. Somchai had driven those roads for over 15 years. He knew the canal. But some encounters don't give you a choice. It was the end of his shift during a heavy monsoon rain when he saw her, standing alone near the Onnut intersection. She wore a traditional blouse and sarong. She held a bundle close to her chest. Somchai pulled over. She slid into the back seat and pointed ahead. Home, she whispered. By the water. The air inside the taxi turned cold. Not air conditioner cold. Something deeper. Somchai glanced in the rearview mirror. She was rocking the bundle gently. A wave of sadness hit him so hard it nearly made him cry. Is the baby okay? He asked. She looked up. Her eyes were black, endless. She smiled. He is waiting for his father. They reached a dead-end road near the canal. Here, she said. The door opened. Cold air rushed out. When Somchai turned around, the seat was empty. In its place lay dry Bodhi leaves and ancient coins no longer used in Thailand. Somchai went to a temple the next morning. The monk blessed him and said he was lucky. She usually takes the driver with her, the monk said. Somchai still drives that taxi, and every time it rains, he hears a baby crying from the trunk. He never opens it. Stories like these are why Mae Nak is still feared and still respected. She isn't evil. She's what happens when love refuses to end. That's why people still bring toys and baby clothes to her shrine. Why drivers avoid certain roads during storms, and why no one laughs when they hear a baby crying near the canal at night. Rational explanations exist. Heat, exhaustion, old houses that breathe, but they don't explain the fingerprints, the coins, or why the same warnings exist across generations. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If Mae Nak is just a story, why do so many people still follow her rules? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more true Asian ghost stories, folklore, real encounters, and the history behind them, subscribe. New stories every week. Just remember, some passengers are already on their way home.